I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, we thank you for all the bounty of the season. We thank you for all the good weather, and we ask for your favorable kindness upon our region. If it be your will, please send moisture and rain. Also be with us today. Help us to understand the work that needs to be done. Bless those who provide services in our county and our public servants. And we ask for you to be with us, that our words and actions be pleasing in your sight. In your name we pray. Amen. This morning I don't have any specific chair comments. We'll move straight to the consent agenda. First of all, Madam Vice Chairman, do you have a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes, I would like to add Paul Resley for an emergency declaration at the beginning of business items.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to include the resolution for the fire and to hear from Paul. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda will be so amended. We'll take that as soon as we get to business items. Consent agenda, Commissioners.
I move that we approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now is an opportunity for members of the public to provide public comment to the Board of County Commissioners. Madam Clerk, did anybody advise that they wish to address the commission this morning?
No, sir.
Anyone here gathered to wish to address the commission? Hearing none, we'll move on to the business items, and the first item on our amended agenda is the Resolution 10-2025. Paul?
Morning.
Good
Paul Resley, Finney County Emergency Manager. Saturday we had a wildland fire in the corner of Haskell, Finney, and Kearney County. Reason we needed a resolution was we couldn't move our trucks or anything around in the sand, so we needed the air support. So we had 4 aircraft that assisted us, so they were able to get it down. It started in Haskell County, moved to Kearney, and then ended up in Finney County. So, but the guys did a heck of a job. We had, I can't even begin to tell you everybody that we had down there. So I wasn't in town, so I was working it off the phone, but they were out there. They finally wrapped it up about 7 o'clock Saturday night. So no loss of life, no equipment damage, it was just in the sand hills down there. No, as far as my knowledge, no cropland or anything of that nature was bothered. So,
Questions from the Commissioners?
Paul, they have any idea what caused it or started?
talking to my counterpart from Haskell County, they thought it started down in a farm field down in Haskell County and just migrated up this way. So
I know that part of the county is, I know well, and you can't drive around it.
No, back when I was a young man, I worked in the oil field and we moved some rigs down there, and we had to have a lot of help to get equipment in and out down there. And they had a 4-wheel drive tractor hung up down there and some fire equipment, but they were able to get them out and worked it off the solid ground, and the air support helped a lot.
I know we took our water truck down there, just set on the parallel road thinking just in case.
Well, our public works was big help. They had their trucks down there, and I think they set on one of the solid roads as well. So it was a huge effort on everybody's part. So
Thanks for your effort. That's down there. Those type of fires are, it's the fire itself is destructive, but what happens afterwards is what's real.
exactly.
All right, well, land use in that sand hill is fragile soil, and we'll ask the owners down there to take due regard for the lack of cover now. Before the board is a proposed resolution based on Paul asking me to declare a declaration, which I did on the first day of March. The resolution reads, whereas on the first day of March 2025, the Board of County Commissioners of Finney County, Kansas declared that there was a state of local emergency in Finney County, resulting in the potential of additional and or excessive costs due to a large wildland fire in Finney County. Such conditions endanger the public financial stability, health, safety, and welfare of persons within the borders of Finney County. Therefore, be it resolved by the board that the state of local emergency in Finney County declared on the first day of March shall continue and remain in effect in accordance with potential and anticipated state and or federal financial assistance initiatives unless terminated earlier. That in response and recovery aspects of all local disaster plans that are applicable to Finney County and shall initiate the rendering of aid and financial assistance guidance thereunder. That any rights or powers lawfully exercised or any actions taken pursuant to local disaster emergency plans shall continue and have full force and effect as authorized by law unless modified or terminated in the manner prescribed by law. Resolved by this, the Board of County Commissioners of Finney County, Kansas, on this third day of March 2025. Is there a motion to approve this resolution 10-25?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution for the emergency declaration resolution. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Would you hand that to the clerk?
Thank you.
Next on the business agenda, we'll hear from Dante Thompson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I am Dante Thompson, a planner with Neighborhood and Development Services, and Michael Klein from Klein Surveying Services on behalf of the property owner is requesting a waiver from the zoning and subdivision regulations to allow for the subdivision of a property that will result in a lot containing less than 2 acres at 906 and 908 West Maple Street. The property contains approximately 5.6 acres and is currently zoned RR Rural Residential and MR Medium Density Residential. There are currently 2 homes on the northern half of the property, which are serviced by an on-site sewer system and water well. Michael Klein has proposed subdividing the property into 3 lots. As depicted in Mr. Klein's map, lots 1 and 2 will meet the 2-acre minimum and be used for residential purposes. However, lot 3 will only contain 1.6 acres. When Mr. Klein first contacted Neighborhood and Development Services with the property owner's intended subdivision and proposed uses, Mr. Klein was notified that the 2-acre minimum set by the regulations and the proposed truck training would require the lot to be rezoned. The Finney County subdivision regulations require parcels containing to contain at least 5 acres in area. However, there is an exception that allows parcels to be no less than 2 acres with an aerobic treatment unit septic system, or an ATU. These acreage requirements align with the Finney County Environmental Code and the Kansas Department of Health and Environmental minimum standards for design and construction of on-site wastewater systems. After discussion between Mr. Klein and Finney County Public Works, it was determined that a waiver would be their only option to allow the proposed subdivision to result in a lot that contained less than 2 acres. As shown in the waiver request letter, a note will be shown on the plat or a separate document filed with the Register of Deeds stating due to the lot size of lot 3, a septic system is not permitted. Staff has discussed similar situations with other property owners and has not permitted the proposal for a similar lot split in the past. However, NDS is unaware of any similar request previously considered by the Board of County Commissioners. Should the Board of the County Commission approve the waivers, staff would recommend that a note be listed on the plat and restrictive covenants that run with the land. Due to the lot size, lot 3 would not be permitted a septic tank. There are 2 alternatives in front of you. The board may approve the waiver request, or 2, the board may not approve the waiver request. Staff is unable to recommend approval of the waiver request. There's no fiscal impact with this, and Mr. Klein is here today.
Questions for the planner? I have some. Where is the right-of-way easement on this property?
You said the right-of-way easement?
Well, is there any right-of-way easement back to the property?
I don't think there's a current easement that permits it access to a right-of-way. When they go through the platting process, if you do approve the waiver, then there would be a requirement for them to have an access easement that gets them to the right-of-way or for them to abut right-of-way.
Okay, we have a 50-foot utility one demonstrated on our design drawing, but no dedicated access to Lot 3.
Not that I'm aware of now, just because it is unplatted land.
And explain again what we're going to use Lot 3 for.
Lot 3 would be a lot used for training CDL truck drivers.
Well, they're going to need an easement then.
It would be a requirement during the platting process if the waiver is approved.
Are we getting the cart before the horse without rezoning to know whether that would be available to be rezoned?
It would, yes, it would also need to be rezoned, and that would be another process that they would have to go through, and that would also come before you guys as well, and the Planning Commission.
I guess I don't really understand why we're approving a waiver when it's gonna be rezoned anyway.
The subdivision and zoning regulations require the 2-acre minimum regardless of the zoning district. So if they were to zone to the most likely I-1, I-2, or I-3 district, they would also need to meet that 2 minimum acre requirement.
And the waiver would still be enforced regardless of the zoning?
Correct.
Well, Vicki, you have a lot more experience at the issue of planning and zoning as it relates to this waiver. I have a problem with not having it platted first and proposing a plat with the suggested zoning changes and doing it one time. That's my 10 cents worth.
I agree with that. I feel like we should see a little bit better what is gonna happen there before we make a decision.
And just to clarify, you mean with the rezone or just the platting? I think that staff had chosen the waiver request before the rezoning and the platting process because the rezoning would require effort from the land surveyor to write up a legal description and a boundary for that rezone, and we need to publish it. So I just want to clarify the intentions there.
I see. Plus, I suppose there would be an outlay of money for the applicant, and if he probably wants to know whether he's gonna be able to get a waiver before he proceeds, so I guess that's part of it.
Well, I'm not opposed to subdividing the lots as presented, but this isn't a plat. And the commission shouldn't be, in my opinion, should not be approving of a land use decision without an applicable plat that has the dedicated easements on it. So unless there's any motions, we'll table this until it comes back with the plat and goes through the proper channels to rezone if that's the intended use.
Do you need a motion for tabling?
Tabling?
Oh, yeah, that'd probably be better for everybody involved. Or we can just deny the request and wait until it comes back and we'll entertain it then.
That
Mr.
might
Chairman,
be-
I move we deny the request.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to deny the request at this time, and I want to assure the landowner that we're wanting to move forward with assisting you in developing this plat, but we need to do it the right way. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. We denied the request. Come back when we got the right stuff. Don't go very far, sir. You're in the next on the agenda. Alcohol funds.
The Alcohol Fund Advisory Committee was established in 1982 to advise governing bodies of the city and county on the distribution of alcohol consumption tax funds. Funding for AFAC is established in KSA 79-41A04, which creates an alcohol liquor fund and prescribes how these monies are to be distributed back to local governments. For cities and populations greater than 6,000, the law sets forth that 1/3 of the money to be credited to the general fund, 1/3 to be credited to special parks and recreation fund, and 1/3 to special alcohol and drug programs funded in the city treasury. The AFAC funds are split 50-50. The first portion I'm sorry. I'm doing the other round first. The one portion is reviewed by Live Well Finney County and includes requests from organizations that meet the requirements in addition to requesting more than $6,000. There were a total of 5 agencies that met these requirements, totaling $117,100. After reviewing the applications, Live Well Finney County Board submitted 3 funding recommendations as listed in the memo. The second portion captures requests that are less than $6,000 and reviewed by staff. Those recommendations will be brought forth at the next memo in action. Historically, the city and county has split the AFAC awards. The city of Garden City is responsible for 90% of the recommendation allocation, or $45,000, and the county would be responsible for the remaining 10% of the recommended allocation, or $5,000. The city commission reviewed the request at their meeting on February 18th, 2025, and recommended funding the 3 identified applicants. There are 3 alternatives. The Board of County Commissioners may approve the recommendation from Live Well Finney County to award these applicants. The Board of County Commissioners may modify that recommendation, or 3, the Board of County Commissioners may provide alternative direction. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve the recommendation from Live Well to award 3 applicants. If approved, the City of Garden City would expend 90%, or $45,000, and Finney County would expend 10%, or $5,000 for AFAC recipients. I'm happy to answer any questions about this portion.
Commissioners?
There's obviously not enough money to go around because all the applications, I reviewed every one of them, and well done. Obviously, the 2 of them were submitted late, and I'm sure that had to do with some of it. So I would move to approve as reported.
I'll second.
My further discussion is that I don't think that we ought to have arbitrary cutoff dates for people as that have completed such wonderful things in our community as the 2 people that are being excluded. So I'll be voting no, because I think that the Excelicare and Real Men, Real Eaters should be included in the use of this AFAC money. So that's, I don't know what the excuses are for them missing the deadline, but their applications are there. And it seems rather arbitrary, in my opinion, that we not consider the merits of their application. Any further discussion?
Who sets the rules for Live Well? Do they do it themselves, or?
That came from, as I read the memorandum, that came from the city on the 2025 AFAC fund requests, and they sent it out to everybody with the big bold letters that had to be returned by January 24th, 2025 to Assistant City Manager Danielle Burke.
Well, I guess you have to set the cutoff date sometime, and they are well aware of it.
Well, and when we vote on the next group of funds, it looks like at least one of them did get their application in on time, so I don't know what the
Problem was.
So.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Mine's a nay. Motion carries. Dante, you're still up.
Already, this second portion has the same background information as the previous, although this portion is managed by staff, and any organization that meets the requirements of the statute could receive up to $6,000 through this request. There were a total of 10 agencies that requested funding through the process, totaling $57,000. After receiving the application, staff submitted the following funding recommendations as listed in the memo. The second portion that you just considered are only for requests that are over $6,000, and those go through the Livermore Finney County Board. Again, historically, the city has, and the county have split the AFACT funds. The city of Garden City is responsible for 90% and the county 10%. The city commission will review these requests at their March 4th meeting. There are 3 alternatives in front of you. The Board of County Commissioners may approve the recommendation from staff to award 10 applicants. 2, the Board of County Commissioners may modify the recommendation from staff. And 3, the governing body may provide alternative direction. Staff recommends the governing body approve recommendation to award 10 applicants. And if approved, the city of Garden City would expend $45,000 and Finney County would expend $5,000 for AFAC applicants. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, any questions? Commissioners?
No.
I don't have any.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve alternative 1, group 2, numbers of the AFAC funds. All right, and any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, Parks and Recreation grant applications.
Morning, Commissioners. Dory Munyon, Finney County Clerk and Election Officer. The Parks and Recreation grant is very similar to the grant you just approved for the use of alcohol funds. The state of Kansas creates an alcoholic liquor fund and prescribes how those monies are to be distributed back to local units of government. Again, a third of those funds are credited to the general fund of the county. A third goes to a special Parks and Recreation fund, and the third to a special alcohol and drug fund. The third that goes to Parks and Recreation is what we are requesting your approval for now. These funds are to be expended for the purchase, establishment, maintenance, or expansion of park and recreational services, programs, and/or facilities. Finney County has historically granted these funds to local organizations or clubs that provide services, program, or facilities that align with the required use of these funds. The Parks and Recreation Grant Committee met on Thursday, February 13th to review the applications, and based on the estimated funds available for 2025 and the alignment to the program requirements and statute, the committee developed recommendations as detailed in your packet. Your alternatives today are to accept the recommendation of the committee and direct distributions to be made as presented. Or number 2, reject the recommendation of the committee and make adjustments to distributions and/or direct staff to take alternative action. We would recommend that you approve alternative 1 to accept the recommendation of the committee. I did list out the committee members for you. Commissioner Kevin Basque, myself, Sheriff Martinez, County Administrator Robert Reese, and Interim County Administrator Gary Meeker both participated. And then Sandra Carbajal from the Health Department and Gabby Campos, Deputy County Clerk. So those recommendations are included on the next page. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
Questions, Commissioners?
I've sat on this committee years ago, and they looked into these pretty close, so I trust them. So I move that we do recommendation number 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve recommendation number 1 as provided by staff and the committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a request for signatures from the County Health Department. Good morning, Shruti.
Good morning, Shruti Chabra, Finney County Health Department. I'm here to request the commission, the local Board of Health, to sign our grant application signature page. Every year in March, we apply to the state for the aid to local funds, and we will be making that application again this year. per usual. Usually, we apply for 5 grants, which I've provided the details of. This year, we are adding the Pregnancy Maintenance Initiative grant in our application. The hope is that we will be able to get some funding to sustain community health workers who can work with the community, make sure that people get to prenatal care at the earliest and are connected with prenatal providers. I have included some information about the grants that we apply for. These grants help to support our initiatives under the different programs that we have and help supplement the budget that we present every year. Of all of these grants, the maternal and child health, the family planning, and the pregnancy maintenance initiative grants are competitive grants. The others are non-competitive grants. The immunization action plan, public health emergency preparedness, and state formula grants, the amounts are predetermined, and so we apply for the amount that the state has advised. For the other 3 grants, we make an application. We usually get funded at an amount below what we apply for.
Okay, first order of business, Madam Clerk, do we need to convene as the Board of Health?
I believe so. That does require the approval of the Board of Chairman of the Board of Health.
Okay, so we need to go out of regular session and convene as the local Board of Health, and then hear all the comments with regard to this grant application and the information. Is there a motion to go out of regular session into the local Board of Health?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go out of regular session and convene the Finney County Board of Health. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're now convened, and Trudy, please continue with your presentation now that we're properly listening to your presentation.
Thank you. So the local Board of Health is asked to consider signing the grant application signature page form. This form is attached to the budget section of each grant application in the packet that we submit to KDHE every year. For the state financial year 2026, the applications will be submitted on March 17th. Finney County Health Department has consistently been awarded 5 of the 6 grants enlisted in the attachments. We are applying for the Pregnancy Maintenance Initiative grant for the first time this year. All of these funds will be used to support public health initiatives in the county and help with service delivery to Finney County residents. The alternatives before you are to sign the form for the aid to local grant application as presented, or alternative 2 would be to direct us to furnish edits or additional details and authorize the chairperson to sign the application when these are satisfactory. And the third would be to not to request the funding at all. Staff recommends option 1. Once award amounts are announced, which is usually in late June, this will help us. This will impact our ability to carry out the initiatives and programs that were approved in the county budget for financial year 2025 and the ones that are being planned for 2026.
Okay, questions for Shruti with regard to the grant application signature by the Board of Directors of the local health board? Need a motion to approve the grant application as submitted and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the grant application and the alternative 1 as presented be approved. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any further business before the Board of Health?
The sliding scale would be, okay, thank you.
The sliding scale goes before the regular commission, does it not? That's right. So, move to adjourn the Board of Health.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the Board of Health. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Back in regular session, you have a presentation on the commission setting the sliding scale.
The Finney County Health Department seeks approval to implement a sliding scale fee schedule. These fee schedules apply to the family planning and maternal and child health program services. The fee schedule adjusts fees based on family size, income, and federal poverty guidelines and ensures equitable access to essential healthcare services. The family planning and maternal and child health programs provide critical preventive and primary health services, and federal and state guidelines encourage the use of sliding fee scales to ensure equitable access. Implementing such sliding fee scales is also a requirement for our KDHE aid to local grant funding for these specific programs, and so will ensure compliance with our contractual obligations. The proposed scales are based on the federal poverty guidelines and align with best practices. They are based on the recommendations provided by the state. Once approved, then we will be including these sliding scales in our grant applications and will be implementing these from 1st July of this year. So the alternatives are to approve the sliding scale fee structure as presented, to direct us to modify the proposed structures based on alternative adjustments or eligibility criteria, or recommend no modification. Staff recommends option 1. These sliding fee structures are expected to have a neutral to positive fiscal impact because they allow for reduced fees, which also encourages the utilization of services and may help maintain overall program revenue. It also helps us adhere to funding guidelines and makes sure that we continue to be eligible for grants.
Questions on the sliding scale fee structure effective July 1st?
Shruti, one question. Service procedures are all under code.
Oh. So these are like the codes are the visit codes for the physician, for our provider or the nurse or the breastfeeding specialist.
Okay. Do you furnish sonograms for your?
No, we do not have sonograms.
Okay.
We refer people out for that.
Do what?
We refer people for that. And these are the service these are examples of services in the pharmaceutical and contraceptives and laboratory. There can be more, but these are just examples of the most commonly used ones under those programs.
Your sonograms, do those get referred out to Genesis or Dr. Hall?
We to ABC Pregnancy or Genesis or Women's Clinic, depending on the background of the patient. I think all Medicaid clients get referred to Genesis. Others are given an option, and they can pick where they would like to go.
Okay, good.
All right. Commissioners, a motion to approve the sliding scale for 2025 effective on the 1st of July.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that sliding scale for family planning schedule as presented be approved. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Gary Hahn.
Good morning. Jerry Hahn, Finney County Noxious Weed Director. The Board of County Commissioners is asked to consider the approval for the 2024 Noxious Weed Annual Report. This is just a weed eradication report due back to the Kansas Department of Ag.
Questions for noxious weed on the annual report? Are you gonna have
One-
sales this year of spray?
Yes.
And what's the rate gonna be for our farmers?
We were able to do quite a bit of purchasing with some leftover chemicals after the first of the year to combat some of the high prices that have gone up. So some of them have increased almost 50%. So some that we have on hand, we might not be able to procure again, but we should have enough to kind of facilitate throughout the year to just eradicate and control the major noxious weeds that we have in our county.
Question is Commissioner Jones.
While you're doing noxious weeds, do you still do prairie dog control or not?
Yes, we do.
Okay, how do people apply for that? Just call you?
They usually just contact us, or we find out about it as we're out doing must thistle or checking property for other noxious weeds.
Okay.
Do you have your prices on your chemicals that are available for sale to your local farmers here in Finney County? Where would they find those prices?
Those prices are usually, I believe, they used to be posted on the website.
All right.
I thought they were in here somewhere.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
I
but couldn't
ran
find
across
it.
them and I can't.
And they might not have been posted for this year because we haven't, I'll still have to come in front of you for approval on purchasing those chemicals.
Here's disbursement summary.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah, some of these numbers.
Last year's.
This was for 2024, so this was last year's costs. So like I said, some of those increases there'll be quite a few of these increasing, but not over 50%, I believe, for the year. So far, I haven't heard of anything that major of an increase.
Any other questions with regard to the 2024 noxious weed annual report? If not, is there a motion to consider the approval of the annual report?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the annual report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the annual report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is the management plan. Don't go very far.
This is also for the Board of County Commissioners asked to consider and approve the 2025 management plan for noxious weeds. This kind of goes back to the KDA, lets them know that what we're trying to do for future control of noxious weeds and how we're trying to advance to better our eradication program.
All right, any questions about the annual report and plan, excuse me? Motion, Chairman, or former Vice Chairman Jones.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the noxious management plan for 2025. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll next hear from Ms. Schartz and also Ms. Boers with regard to the indigent defense contract.
And Your Honor, Ms. Boers is here as well as Heidi Farnsworth. You'll see within the packet, we received the memorandum from the Indigent Defense Panel, which we have a contract with. They have been working on naming the sixth person after Doug Spencer had tendered his resignation from that contract last year. They have selected Heidi Farnsworth as the permanent replacement to fill that sixth slot on that panel. Ms. Farnsworth and Ms. Boers are here to answer any questions if you have such questions. You can either approve the naming of Heidi Farnsworth to that contract, or if you have reason to not approve her, you can not approve her and so direct the panel.
I'm chairman here. I'm not judge of anything. Thank you, Counselor. And we'll hear from Ms. Boers and Ms. Farnsworth, please.
Have it.
Have it.
Good morning. Reminds me of the time when my grandfather almost saluted the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court because he was so used to it during World War II.
I probably would have done that.
Yeah. So, good morning, Laura Blake Bors with the Indigent Defense Contract, and allow me to introduce Heidi Farnsworth, who we are asking you to approve. Just to give you a little bit of information, since I know at least two of you are new to the commission. You have contracted with 6 attorneys to provide indigent defense work for the county. Your contract with us provides indigent defense work for anyone who is allowed constitutionally to have court-appointed attorneys for any work that is not a felony. So the felony work is provided by the Public Defender's Office and a separate list that the 25th Judicial District maintains for the felony work. And then this list is for anything else. So primarily it is for child in need of care cases. So those cases for truancy and abused and neglected children. So every child in need of care case has a guardian ad litem. So those that attorney represents the best interests of the child. And then if a parent would like to have an attorney or sometimes grandparents, there's also a special role for a special advocate. So that attorney represents the child themselves, so not the best interests. And then other roles as well. And then misdemeanors, traffic, care and treatment. So those individuals who need to go to Larned or other mental health issues, limited action cases where jail is a possibility, child support cases, things like that. So those are the cases that we are talking about with this particular contract. So just to give you kind of an idea of what services we provide. The last 2 months, we have been jokingly referring to ourselves as the Fab Five because there's only been 5 of us. Generally, we received the nomiker by then Judge Frederick as the Super Six. And we are looking forward to being back to the Super Six with the addition of Ms. Farnsworth. Ms. Farnsworth is officing right now out of Ellis, Kansas, but she is looking forward to moving down to Garden City. She comes originally from Arizona, where she has an education background, so we're looking forward to adding that component to our toolbox, so to speak, specifically with our child in need of care cases. That's going to be a nice component to add. Her significant other is also going to be added and has added himself to our bids list, so those cases dealing with the felonies, because as you may know, we have an issue with the number of attorneys in our area. And we desperately need attorneys. So we're glad to have him to the community as well. So we are hoping that you will consider adding her to our list. We're looking forward to adding her, and she's getting on the ground running because she's taking my spot this week to the emergency hearing list. So I'm glad to get off of that this week. So we are asking that you approve this if you see fit. And we will answer any questions that you have, and I'm sure that Heidi will answer any questions that you have about her background.
Of course.
Give her a chance to speak, Laura.
Well, never.
Good morning.
Good morning. As Ms. Bors said, I do have an education background. My undergraduate degree is in history education. I did teach school in inner city Phoenix. After that, I went ahead and got a master's degree in public administration from Grand Canyon University, and then decided to become a lawyer and went to law school at Washburn. So kind of how I ended up, that's how I ended up in Kansas in general. My partner is from Florida. I'm from Arizona, so we've decided to stay. We couldn't agree, so couldn't agree where to
Person's
be.
name, help me out. I got to know the. when they-
James Rutherford is his name.
Thank you.
So he will be joining me. We'll be moving down by the end of the year. We've committed to doing that. We're looking for office space and a home currently, so that's where we're at.
Wonderful. Any questions from the commission? As I understand the procedure, Madam Counselor, we're going to approve Heidi today, and then she's going to sign the contract effective the 1st of April. Is that what we're doing, a temporary for the month of March?
I think they put it in their memo as a temporary replacement for this month, since we technically didn't meet until the 3rd day of March, after they made their decision on appointing her to that. So I think we can sign that addendum agreement at any time in the meantime. Yes, appointing her as being the permanent as of April 1st and moving forward. And if the commission wants to give the chair authority to sign, I think it's just going to be a fairly simple addendum to that original contract that just needs to be circulated among 6 other attorneys. So.
Well, the addendum will actually just be with Ms. Farnsworth and the commission, so it'll be the same one that was signed with Mr. Floyd when.
All right, so the motion needs to be to approve Ms. Farnsworth and authorize the chairman to sign after she signs the addendum. Will that work?
Yes.
So moved.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded to approve Ms. Farnsworth and for me to sign the addendum when approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard, Heidi. We look forward to you helping out. This is the Cadillac of indigent services. And as I've tried to explain to folks, it's okay to be the best at what we do. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Well done, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is to hear from the new interim county administrator, Mr. Meager.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gary Meager, interim county administrator. And I think before you, you have a copy of a request for qualifications. It was my interest, is my understanding you have an interest in doing an organizational review. So we prepared a request for qualifications for firms that do that kind of work. And what we're asking, we're a pretty broad spectrum of qualifications, asking those firms that can do an assessment of the organizational structure, division of labor, span of control, and trying to determine, personnel needs. Also, looking at things such as the overall workload, compliance with mandates, and some of our service level policies. Then getting into some of the budgetary resource allocation, determining the overall budgetary resource allocation of labor, the equipment and contractual services that we utilize, and then comparing our agency with similar agencies of size and complexity. So those are kind of a wide range of things that they could do. Since this is a request for qualifications, it would be followed up if you wanted to go further. At this point, there would be no fiscal impact, but if you want to go further with getting a request for proposal, we could certainly do that and look at the different fees structure. Part of it we might be able to do on our own. Part of it we might ask whoever is selected. I would suggest that if you want to go forward with this, that we have a committee that would be made up of 2 commissioners, and I would recommend the fiscal committee, which is comprised of the HR director, the county clerk, county treasurer. There's a person from the sheriff's department and myself that would make some recommendation to the commission. We do have a schedule of, I know there's an interest in getting this done as soon as we can. So there is a project schedule. If approved today, we would send the request for qualifications out today, asking that we receive a response by April 1st. And we would hope to have at least a preliminary presentation by July 14th, perhaps earlier, but then a final presentation by July 31st. It takes probably 12 to 16 weeks to get, depending upon the services we're requesting. So we've tried to build it in as quickly as we could. So your options today would be to accept the, and approve the request for qualifications as written, or approve it with whatever edits you think we should make, or to reject it, and we will go from there.
Okay, questions for the administrator?
I have a question, Gary.
Yes.
Is it ever done at the same time, the RFQ and the RFP, or is it intentionally each done separately?
The, well, you could probably ask them in this to submit a cost, try to combine so that we submit, that they submit what some of their costs are going to be. So we could certainly do that, I think. So we could at least see what those costs might be.
Well, if you'd ask them for an estimate, would that be easier than, say, tying them down?
I think that probably what you'd want to do is to, if you're going to ask that, I think you would probably want to try to get fairly close, so at least you know what that's going to be for each one. I guess we could ask for an approximate amount and based on, part of it is right now we're asking for qualifications, and it could be that as we select someone to move forward with, we might want to negotiate some of those services, and so. But if you have the full range, you might get a bigger number than what you would if we would maybe negotiate. But I think we could get, I think, they would be able to turn that around pretty quickly.
Okay.
The price.
All right, motion on the RFP as presented. RFQ, excuse me. I'm already on the next screen.
I'll move to approve alternative 1.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the RFQ as proposed without modification. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's go straight to the proposal then.
Okay, the next item is a request for qualifications for an executive search with the vacancy of the county administrator. We are asking for qualifications from select firms to assist in the recruitment and hiring of a new county administrator. This would be a situation where they would help to develop a community profile. They would assist with advertising for the position, soliciting candidates, and helping to review some of the initial candidates to make some recommendations on a smaller group that you might want to focus on. Then they would provide some suggested questions and help coordinate some of the negotiation at a later date with the candidate. So here again, there's some of this that we might be able to do on our own, depending upon what the costs are. And because this is a request for qualification, it does not have any financial impact. In this particular case, the project schedule is that we would try to get this out today if approved, and try to get responses back by April 1st, and then try to have I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong schedule here, just give me a second. We would have the responses back by March 24th, and then we would proceed from there. So March 24th would be when they would have to respond back. We'd ask for the RFP for what their costs are, and we would look down that list and then make a selection of the services we thought were appropriate for our needs. And in this particular case, I would suggest there be a committee formed, again, of two county commissioners, the county counselor, the HR director, and myself. And in this particular case, you could go ahead and approve the RFQ as written, approve it with modifications, or reject it, and we move forward.
Very good. Questions for Mr. Meeker with regard to the presentation? I think that we should be moving on this right away with the schedule. I like the March 24 deadline for response, and we'll get to the committee assignment here in just a second. Is there a motion to approve the RFP as presented?
So is this a proposal or a qualification?
This is, again, a qualification, request for qualifications.
This is for
Yes.
okay. All right, so I would move that we approve the request for qualifications as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the RFQ for County Administrator Executive Search presented by the interim administrator. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, with regard to the two separate committees for the scan on the RFQ and the committee for the administrator search, do they need to be the same persons?
No, sir.
What's your recommendation?
I would say whoever is available to do it. We have several things going on. We have the, of course, the insurance RFP we're doing, and so these are two other activities that we're engaged in. So it really kind of depends on the time that you have available that we can do it. I do believe that these, with the search, I think it'll go fairly quickly. It might take a little bit longer on the organizational review to go through those. I'd say, based on the timelines that we have identified, I think if you have time and we're willing to, it'd be good if we could get some different people so that everyone has an opportunity to
Then I'm going to
participate.
go to my last question to you, Gary, before we do the, open it up for volunteers. And if no volunteers, then I'm going to appoint. But back to the cost and budgeting cash basis issues. I'm constantly got a bell in the back of my head. The auditor always wants me to ask this question. The available funding for the RFQ for the scan, the available funding for the administrator search, are those under our general fund?
That's correct. It'd be under the unclassified is where we take that money.
Limited, correct?
We wish.
It's limited by the balance of the general fund.
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. Auditors, I hope they're all happy. They can stay tuned for more.
Yeah, and if there is not two commissioners that could participate in each one, at least having one, I think would be important.
Well, the chair is a member of the fiscal committee, but I may bow out of this one for the specific purpose, for the reasons that are pretty obvious. You can go ahead and have a chair, sir.
Okay.
Who is volunteering, commissioners? Let's start with, I think that'll be the same people. And so, who would like to volunteer?
Mr. Chair, I'd make myself available to do the scanning committee. I think the one for the county administrator, that timeline is going to move quick, and I'm going to be gone all of the week before they're due. So, I mean, it all depends when that would be.
All right, well, volunteers are always wanted and approved. You're appointed to the scan committee.
And Kevin Basque just texted me, said he'd be willing to do the search
Again.
for the county admin.
For the administrator.
Right.
I would also like to be on the search for the county administrator.
All right, and on the scan, we need one more person.
I'm not much for government organizations. I would probably be a very good choice.
Okay,
Kevin, since he's not here.
Kevin, since he's not here.
Yep.
Vice Chairman is providing the leadership and direction that we need. And Kevin, thank you for watching and participating, but you're appointed to two commissioners on the scan. It'd be Mike and Kevin. And on the administrator search would be Commissioner Vasquez and Commissioner Gurman. Make sure that commissioners that are so appointed to those make themselves available for meetings as called by the administrator or any one of the commissioners on those two committees. I don't think you need a chair for that. Perhaps you do. All right. Mike, you're going to chair the scan committee. Okay. And Vicki, you will chair the administrators committee.
Okay.
And you'll meet on the call of the chair, a commissioner, or the administrator.
Okay.
Communication will be really important. These are critical deadlines for all of us to get this important work done. Thank you to the commissioners for their volunteer-told opportunity to serve. Really is important stuff. We got to get it right. Our scan is vitally important, and I think choosing a new administrator and making recommendations is noble work. The work is just starting. It's going to get fun. All right. What we have is a real nice break. Anything, did I miss anything?
No, sir.
Okay. K-Camp will be with us at 10:30, is that right?
Yes, possibly a little earlier.
Possibly earlier. Okay, so we're gonna come back to that. I'm not gonna close the business agenda. We'll go ahead and go into the staff reports. And we'll keep the regular session open and go to staff reports and hear from Mackenzie.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development Administrative Coordinator. I have a few updates for you this morning. Over the past couple of weeks, we did have a field check for one of our high-risk rural road projects, which that's the one on Maple Street. And with that meeting with the Kansas Department of Transportation, we are trying to hit a goal of a July letting date with a, they have right now on the books of August letting date, but if we can get plans in earlier, then that's the goal, is to have the July letting date. And then shooting for construction either late summer, early fall of this year. So we also had, within these past couple weeks, a pre-construction meeting for our other high-risk rural road project on VFW Road. This one, the construction is slated to start on March 31st. So, and then CW with Kirk and Michael and I have been very busy with scheduling and having meetings with the property owners out at Northwest Industrial District. And that's all I have for you this morning.
Any questions for Mackenzie? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll hear from the administrator, Mr. Meager. Welcome back.
Thank you. I have 4 items I wanted to make you aware of. Number one, on March 17th, at your March 17th meeting, we're going to have a representative from Integrated Consulting Engineers here to talk with you about the VRF system. They're putting some finishing touches on some of the estimates, and they're going to be here to talk about how this project would look and some of the costs involved in it. And I'll be meeting with him this week and kind of go over some of that information, but that way you'll be able to hear it firsthand what they found. Secondly, I wanted to mention that there's an employee appreciation on Friday, and certainly you all are welcome to come. The
Friday, sir?
11:30 to 1:30. So then on March 11th, we're having the kickoff meeting for the Health Department EMS building project. That's at 10 o'clock, so that'll be our first meeting on that, and probably set forth how often we meet, whether it's weekly, every other couple of weeks. It may start out meeting every couple of weeks or so, but then as we get farther into the construction, it'll probably be more often.
Now, dates and time again.
The 11th, again, March 11th at 10 o'clock.
Where? Here?
You know, I'll need to get with you on that one. I can't, let me look at my calendar. I think that it is, we're going to do a Teams meeting on that one.
Okay.
But I'll
We're at Hutton's office.
Excuse me just one second. The other thing I was going to mention, I can go ahead and mention it, that today is the city is doing kind of the same thing that we're doing here, having work sessions. And I plan on trying to go over there this afternoon and try to be involved. Matt Allen asked me to come over and be a part of their planning process, so I will certainly do that.
I'm glad you accepted that invitation.
So
4 items, you were stuck on 3.
okay, we have the city, I counted that, the city work session, going to that, the March 11th meeting, the employee appreciation, and the March 17th presentation with the VRF.
Well, if you just email me on the March 11th meeting or text me or somehow, get a hold of it.
Okay, that is going to be a Teams meeting.
Okay.
It is going to be a Teams meeting. So if you want to be part of that, I'll make sure that you receive an invitation.
Working backwards, the Friday meeting, 11:30 for employee appreciation, is that here?
It is here.
Lunch provided?
Yes, sir.
The incentive. The meeting on the new building,
Yes.
County Health EMS, have you scheduled a groundbreaking ceremony?
That's one of the things we want to talk about, and I guess we want to find out a little bit about your availability, but we do want to try to get that scheduled. So if we'll try to get back with you on that, and maybe we can have something for you so that you can talk about it at your March 17th meeting.
Okay, well, of us that are here, is Hutton ready to go on the 17th with the groundbreaking? Last time I checked, isn't that St. Patty's Day?
It is.
What a wonderful day to have a groundbreaking.
Well, you could, I'm sure we could schedule it for that day if it would work out for all of you.
I know you're gonna be gone, but
Yeah,
we
that's,
can do a groundbreaking without you.
oh, yeah.
You supply the green beer?
I'm on sabbatical, that's Lent, Your Honor, or Sir, Your Honor.
If you'd like to set that date, I'll go ahead and try to work that out with.
Well, let's work it, when would work for you? I mean,
The following week.
the 24th on a Monday?
Yeah.
How about March 24th?
March 24th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk with Hutton and see if we can get that arranged at that time.
That would be wonderful, and if they need to get started, don't wait for ceremony.
Oh.
Do ceremony
Yeah, I don't think, this is really just a very preliminary meeting we're going to have, so I don't think that's going to create a problem, but I will certainly check on that for sure.
All right, your building committee on EMS, remind me who we're working with there. I know that, who all is on that building committee that you're working with? Just Larry?
Isn't Kevin? I
Yeah.
believe Kevin's on
Kevin
that
and
one.
Larry.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Right. County councilor update.
Did receive notice last week that there's another property that has been paid off that's in the currently filed tax sale. So a gentleman had called my office about that one, and I directed him over to the treasurer's office, and he did indeed get that parcel paid off. So one more down in that one. I am receiving an increasing number of calls, emails, or snail mail letters regarding that particular sale. So I know that people are getting served with their summonses. I've not actually received any formal response through the actual court filing itself. Most of those that I've received have been, well, I don't really want to do anything with this. So we will see how that works going forward, but making some progress.
Right, with regard to the preparations for another tax sale, the one that's filed is 2018 and before, 2019 and before?
No, there were some older ones in that one because I think the timing of where that one fell, I want to say there were 2016, 17
Right.
that were in.
So, I believe there's a list, and I don't know whether it's published or not, of delinquent taxes.
Everyone can go on and see whether or not there's a delinquent. I have a list that was just provided to me from the treasurer's office of what she has put together in one spot, but they're all searchable if they're delinquent taxes.
All right, well, the movement's gonna be is we're gonna have another round of efforts to collect delinquent taxes, and if you're on the list, get them paid.
I have been in communication with the treasurer's office. Those that are delinquent, that aren't in the current filing, we're working on sending out a preliminary letter from the treasurer's office to make sure that all those that are on the list know that they are there. There has been at least some that I have contacted within that were at least indicated to me that they were unaware that that was out there. So hopefully that will get some more traction. Not that they shouldn't have already gotten their tax bills for those, but I know that even in the current filing, there have been a lot that we've found that we don't have good addresses for people. So another plug to make sure that your addresses are updated with the county if it's not the parcel where your tax bill is for.
All right, the viewing public should also realize that this county councilor inherited the tax foreclosure sale that's being done now. The one that's being prosecuted and not yet filed, and the letters that are upcoming will be her first review, and it's my hope that it's comprehensive and cleans up the tax roll as much as possible for those who are delinquent more than 2 years. Beware. All right, any questions for the county councilor? All right, Board of Governance, Madam Clerk.
So on here, I just wanted to point out that the chamber breakfast is coming up next week. Also, I have added on here the Chamber of Commerce Annual Banquet and Business Awards. That will be on April 24th. We received notification last week, we do have a table. So if anybody would like to attend, we'll need you to RSVP to the administration office. That would be to Leanne. just you and your spouse or just yourselves, either way. But we will need to know so we can then offer seats to other electeds and directors.
I was glad that you added the Fred Tishner Memorial Baseball Tournament on May 3rd and 4th down at Peebles. It's a wonderful new event. I also want to bring to everyone's attention showcases. February 20th is passed. That was down in Liberal, but we had the really bad weather. So the next showcase is the one in which City and County Essential Services is April 2nd here at the exhibition building. Commissioners, if you haven't a chance to attend one of these, I would encourage you to do so. And I'd also ask for the continued support from county management and staff of these showcases. A lot of really good compliments from the high schools and the administrators for the work that Finney County did last year on the showcase, and would ask for that same effort and perhaps improvement on things that need improvement, so that these showcases are an opportunity for us to build on the opportunity to get our young students and young adults to know what available positions there are in Southwest Kansas, and as well as the attendance of the colleges at these showcases. They can dovetail into what's available and also how to get the education requirements that they need, all in one setting. Fabulous event, April 2nd, and I think it starts at 9:30, and there is a welcome and so forth on the 2nd. Is the 2nd a Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday. And so I'll be working with Gary, your schedule, to see if you and I can do the welcome at the beginning of that showcase for all of them. That's something that we should do.
Dory, the Southwest Kansas Highway Officials meeting in Dodge, is that, this is all day, doesn't give it really a,
Yeah, I have been not been notified on those. Mackenzie, they must not have sent out a schedule
they
yet.
used to, I know they used to move them around, and
Yeah, they haven't sent out the schedule yet. I'll reach out to the treasurer and secretary, see if I can get a copy of that program.
start time's all I need.
It usually starts at like around 8 o'clock in the morning-ish. And then they're probably gonna get done a little earlier this year. We weren't able to fill one of the slots, so it should be done around like maybe 2 or 3 o'clock.
I put it on my calendar, I was gonna try to make it.
Anything else on events?
And as soon as we get an invitation for that, I will send it out to you so you're clear on the schedule.
Really appreciate the opportunity to be focused on highways. We got a lot of things going on. Traveled again across our state, and you wonder why we can't get funding for 4-lane in Finney County when other areas of the state that have the most beautiful 4-lane that you can't imagine with 2 or 3 cars on it. So I think that we need to do a better job of working with our friends in Topeka to demonstrate our economic need. That brings us to executive session. Madam Counselor, is there a need for an executive session? First on non-elected personnel.
Yes.
And who do you want and how long?
I think on this first one, probably 20 minutes. Would that be and then have Kelly with us.
Okay, so we'll need the administrator, the HR director, myself, and the commission for approximately 20 minutes.
Motion?
So moved.
Starting at 5 till,
Correct. We'll take a break as requested by Chairman, or former Chairman Jones.
Former,
Former Vice Chairman Jones, or been here forever Jones.
We,
We will start at 5 till for 20 minutes. We'll come back at 10:15.
if they're going to come on at 10:30, do we just want to start at 10 and go for that, and then be ready for?
Oh, they will be here in person.
Oh, they'll be here in.
Yeah, he'll be here in person, and he's traveling from across the state, so
Okay.
not sure exactly what time he'll be here.
We'll be flexible, and the motion is to go in executive session starting at 9:55 for 15 minutes and reconvene for 20 minutes and reconvene at 10:15. All those in favor say, and the persons in the motion as directed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we're in executive session. We'll see you shortly. Executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to go out of executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're back in regular session. I'll confirm that no action was taken. Madam Counselor, is a need for a second executive session on attorney-client matters?
There is.
All right, and name the people that you want in the executive session.
We're going to need the administrator, Mackenzie Phillips, myself, and the board. And I would say we probably need 20 minutes for this one as well.
All right. Is there a motion to go into executive session for 20 minutes, including the people identified for attorney-client privilege?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to go in executive session with the persons identified. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session. See you back in 20 minutes. Regular session.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to go back into regular session. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're back in regular session. I'll confirm that no action was taken on the issue of attorney-client privilege. Next up on our agenda is to hear from K-Camp, and we have a fellow here from K-Camp, sir. You gonna start?
Yes, sir, if I could. Gary Meager, Interim County Administrator. Where we're at with this is that there was a desire to look at broker services for our insurance purposes, our policy renewing on July 1st of this year. And as part of that process, there was some desire to ask us to get in contact with K-Camp. K-Camp is not a broker, but they certainly do provide their insurance pool, and they provide insurance to a number of counties around the state. So we thought that maybe it would be important to ask Mr. Luke to be here today, David Luke, to maybe explain what K-Camp is, what they do, and some of the services they provide. So it's really more of an educational session at this point. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Luke to come to the podium and maybe talk a little bit about K-Camp.
How was the drive?
It was easy.
Good. We like to hear that. Most of the time, most folks from eastern Kansas.
We just like you to know that it's 320 miles both ways.
That's right. We are constantly going around the state, so not an issue for us, yeah.
One of the things that we're looking at is
Yeah.
the cost of property and casualty insurance to the taxpayers here. And would you tell us what K-Camp can offer and what your services are?
You bet, yeah. If I could, just give you a quick overview of our organization, because we are not technically insurance. And so I want to kind of just explain how that works. And some of you may already be familiar with that, some not. So I won't spend a lot of time on it. But we are formed as an interlocal agency. We were started in January 1st of 1991. And really in response to an insurance market that's not unlike what you're experiencing today. A lot of counties in Kansas, really around the country, were getting non-renewed or seeing, say, 300% increases in their premiums. I mean, the insurance department was having to get involved, find markets, insist that certain markets write the coverage. It was really a crisis, and we're not that far away from that. We bid every year, new counties, new cities, and in the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, we've seen it where, somebody who's been the broker or agent for 30 plus years couldn't even come in with a bid. So we're kind of, like I said, back to where we were. So through the county association, the commissioners that were part of that association back then came up with the concept that other states had already implemented of passing some legislation and creating these pools. So they did it for property liability, they did it for workers' comp. You're already with, I think, K-Work for work comp. So K-Camp was formed at that time. We are, according to the statutes, again, we're not insurance, but we are regulated by the Department of Insurance. And just separate statutes kind of apply to how we govern. I submit quarterly financials to KID, to the Kansas Insurance Department. We have an annual submission to them as well. But that said, you're really sharing risk with other like entities around the state. So there's our mission statement there, to deliver high quality coverage and risk management services to members that provide you with long-term financial stability. The next slide is the Time magazine cover from 1986. That sort of led to the creation of the pools. Pools are now the norm. Skipping ahead a little bit, 80% of public entities are in a pool around the country. So they're really the norm as far as financing your property liability risk. They're not the exception anymore. entities that don't pool, why isn't it 100%? Typically, that's because they're too large. So they can self-insure and buy their own excess insurance and hire their own claim adjusting firm and just manage claims within their own layer and then buy reinsurance above whatever amount of risk they don't want to retain. So certainly, Sedgwick County, Wyandotte County, those organizations obviously are going to self-insure. The advantages of pooling, you're sharing costs with like entities. When you insure, you're sharing risk, but you just don't know with whom. With us, you're sharing with other Kansas municipalities. We're governed, because we're a pool, by public officials, elected public officials like yourselves. So we have 3 commissioners, 3 clerks, and a sheriff on our board. They really direct the terms of coverage and give recommendations on the extent of our risk management services that we provide. You have very tailored risk management programs. I'll touch on those at the end. And then we build equity that's owned by the members over time. I've been bidding the Kansas municipalities. I joined K-Camp as the administrator back in 2014. So this is my 12th year. And I have never bid a county or a city where we weren't offering higher limits, lower deductibles, a ton of services that the commercial market doesn't offer at less money. So it's a pretty easy business decision. Why haven't we, we started out with 37 members. We're at 81 counties today, and we have our first 11 cities. So why didn't we grow faster? Why don't we have, all but the largest? We're pretty close at 81 of the 105. But it's really just because, the county will say, well, we want to keep it with the local broker. And that's fine. But eventually, that becomes a harder decision to make, especially in this market. We're not, why are we less money? One of the reasons is we're very efficient. We're very lean. You'll see our org chart in there. We really have just 7 full-time staff, a couple of part-time staff. So we're very lean. We leverage our surplus position, which is very healthy, to absorb bad loss years. We're not afraid to take a bad loss year, take that hit to surplus and move on. We don't write through agents or brokers, so you're not paying that commission, which is a savings to you. And we don't have shareholders. We're not a publicly traded company where we're trying to pay a dividend out to some shareholders every year. So we're just trying to pay our losses within our pool layer, our reinsurance costs for the premiums above that layer, and then our staff costs. And that's it. And then whatever, if we've been too conservative in projecting our losses, that just goes to our surplus, and which is retained by the entire membership. Just looking at the slides 8 and 9, you'll see the members there on, there's a member map. All the shaded counties there are K-Camp counties. We continue to add. We added Saline County last July. We added Labette and Barton counties effective January 1st. Members, when they join, tend to stay. I think there were 2 counties that kind of came in one year and left the next, and it was really, again, that local agent relationship that drove that decision. And there's just one other that was in the pool and is no longer, and that's Neosho County. But all the rest come and they stay. And I think the reason is, one is rate stability. I'll be very frank, we've increased our rates. If you talk to other K-Camp members in the last few years, our rates have gone up, but not to the extent the commercial markets has. And that's, again, the hallmark of pooling. We don't have the knee-jerk reaction to market realities that the commercial market has. And so you just tend to see more stable rates over time. I think that's the biggest reason members stay. The second, and even with these rate increases we've had, I only had 1 member bid in the last 3 or 4 years, 1 existing member bid, and they stayed with us. And the other reason I think is the services, because your staff are gonna get so much from the program. They really, the staff start to feel valued because of all they get from the program. And so the staff really become advocates for the pool. The membership growth you can see there, and that again kind of points to the retention. We've grown from 77 members in 2014 to 113 today. I've listed there for you our current board of trustees. Again, 3 commissioners, 3 clerks, and a sheriff on that board. They meet monthly. They do a planning retreat in the summer, and they really are a very engaged board, and they keep the members' interests at heart. You know, one of the negative things brokers will say about pools is, well, they're accessible. And what that means is, you know, we charge you a contribution at the beginning of the year. The statute says, well, the pool can go back and assess mid-year if they decide they didn't have enough money. And I always say, well, could you imagine how long we'd stay in business if we did that? And we have to get a board, you know, we would have to have the board decide that. And a board of elected officials representing our counties isn't going to be too inclined to do that. And of course, the business reality is you don't need to. As we've built surplus, we have over 23 million in surplus today. You don't need to go back and assess when you have a bad loss year. You absorb it and you move on. You'll see our staff there. We're all located in Topeka. And as I said, we're constantly driving around the state, meeting with our members, trainings, just program updates. In fact, David Lamb, who's at the bottom there, the org chart member services rep, is a former county clerk, and he gets out to each of our members each year to give you updates on coverage and any new services that we have. And he'll actually present a report that shows you how often you're utilizing those services and where maybe you could take better advantage of the program. The coverages we offer are on page 13. What's unique and I think beneficial about our program is you don't have 5, 6 different liability policies. You don't have 3 or 4 property policies. So you don't get a general liability policy, auto, law enforcement, public officials, professional liability for your nurses and EMTs. All of that is in one liability coverage document. Because again, it's tailored for our counties. We have a separate cyber form because that's a pretty unique animal. And then we have one property form. So there's not a separate auto form, mobile equipment, or inland marine. It's all in one property form. And then we provide crime coverage, which primary risk there would be your employee dishonesty. The limits of coverage, we offer $3 million of liability limits, $500,000 of defense costs if you reach that limit. The idea being you don't want to have to erode the limit of $3 million that you want to be able to pay to a claimant by incurring defense costs and having that erode your limit. So we put that additional defense costs outside. We have crisis response coverage on all our coverages. So if you have a major cyber attack that shuts down the county, guaranteed the media is going to be hounding you. If you have a police shooting, same thing. We actually have a media consultant who will work with you to kind of shepherd you through that process because you want to be focused on dealing with the crisis at hand. On our property coverage, one of the unique features, you won't see this in the commercial market, is you don't have to, you don't get charged premium as you add vehicles and equipment and even buildings during the year unless it's over $2.5 million. So unless you're doing a major construction project, whatever you're adding to the schedule during the year, it just gets added. There's no invoice, and we don't audit you at the end of the year. It's a lot of paperwork that we avoid that way. And it's to the advantage of our members because you're typically adding values or adding, vehicles and equipment of higher value and dropping things of lower value, but you're not seeing the cost of that in the first year. It's very broad coverage, replacement cost coverage. We do cover flood, terrorism, and earthquake. I like these next 2 slides just because they kind of show what the pool is. When we talk about the pool, what do we mean? And just very simply, because I'm kind of a simple-minded person, it's the dark blue line at the bottom. So what's the pool? It's the risk that you're sharing with the other members, and what is that risk? It's $400,000 of a property loss. So that anytime a member has a loss within $400,000, that's what the other members are contributing for. Above that, we're transferring the risk off. So again, when brokers or agents say, well, pools are really risky, what if there were tornadoes all over the state? Well, one, our reinsurance only hits if there's storms within a 72-hour period. That's one retention for us. So we actually had that last summer. We had, I think it was 7 or 8 tornadoes touch down in 7 or 8 Kansas K-Camp member counties. That would be, if those all hit the county seat, which of course they did not, that would still just be a $400,000 hit to the pool. And then on the liability side, it's $500,000. And then beyond that, we're transferring risk off to reinsurance. All insurance companies have reinsurance. You just don't see the structure because they're privately, they're a private company. So, but we're public entities, so we share that information with our members and our prospects. So what does that mean? Like how much, so then how do we evaluate that surplus? That next slide, page 18, gives you some ratios, which I won't bore you with, but the one I highlighted there in yellow is the one I wanted to just mention. Typically, regulators want to see that you've got 10 times your largest retention in surplus, because they want to know, okay, if you had 10 major claims in 1 year that blew through that $500,000 layer, would you have enough surplus? Well, that would mean we should have 5 million. And we're at a 46-to-1 ratio, not a 10-to-1. So it kind of gives you an idea of how healthy the program is. So rate stability being the first advantage, I think, or the primary advantage. But the second one I mentioned was services. And this slide just kind of summarizes them, but I did put flyers with more detailed information on those services in your packets. The first one just kind of lists each one with a description. But I'll just run through them very quickly. Attorney Assist gives you access to Folston Sifkin, who's out of Wichita, and they can advise you on employment matters, CORA, COMA. Of course, you have your own county counsel, and that's fine. So this isn't something you're obviously required to use, but sometimes county counsel would like to use the firm as a sounding board on issues, as these guys are advising counties all over the state. We have the E-Risk Hub. Cyber is becoming more and more of a issue, and E-Risk Hub gives you access to sample cyber policies and training, and that's available through our website to our members. We have a discount on Know Before, which is anti-phishing email training. If you're not already doing that, you get a significant discount through that program by being with K-Camp. We have model fleet safety policies, model law enforcement and jail policies and procedures. That's really more important than ever. We have a 10th Circuit opinion that came out a couple of years ago. We used to be able to get sheriffs thrown out of cases routinely because typically they're not there when the deputy is involved in some action. And that went away when the 10th Circuit said, no, we want to know, did the sheriff have training in place? Did he have policies in place? Were they trained on those policies? Our arrangement with LLRMI provides those policies. They're compliant with federal law and state law. And as state law has changed in the last couple of years, they immediately draft policies to address those changes, those legislative changes, roll those out to our sheriffs. They provide in-person training during the year and also offer webinars and also offer online courses. We have a legal-based jail guidelines program through the National Institute for Jail Operations. This gives your jailing staff access to basically the answer to legal questions. So I love the format. It's laid out almost like a jail policy and procedure or operating manual, and they can go look up any topic they want. So if an inmate comes and says, it's my constitutional right to shower every day, it's not. But how many days a week is? The answer is actually 3. And so they can look that up. They just go to the inmate hygiene section of the guidelines and pull up the answer, and it provides the case law or the statute that supports that. And so it really is a great resource for our jailing staff to make sure they're in compliance with state and federal law. We provide property risk assessments, inclusive in your contribution. So we will we'll actually send a risk management inspector out to inspect your facilities, give recommendations to prevent property liability loss. We do, I should have mentioned, we do appraise your facilities every 4 years. So I don't know if you've ever had an independent appraisal, but that is something we would provide, and we would do all property. So it'd be all buildings, include contents, property in the open. We'd go to all your locations. And one of the reasons we've done that for a number of years, every 4 years, but we used to do locations of 100,000 or more. We now do everything. And it's not really so much to make sure we're collecting as much contribution as we can, as it is that we're providing good data to our reinsurers. One of the things that can ease reinsurers' minds in difficult markets is we have really good data, we have reliable data. They've been burned. These reinsurers have paid out $100 billion each of the last several years. That used to be a 1 in 10 year kind of event. It's now almost an every year occurrence. So, and where they're getting burned is there'll be something on a schedule for $5 million and they'll say, well, that'll never touch us. We're insuring above that. And suddenly the loss happens and we find out that location's worth 20 million. And so they want to know these things have been looked at. And that's part of the reason we provide that service to you. We think it helps keep our property rates more modest. We have a roof maintenance program. This is a discount program we have through Stanfield Roofing. They will actually get up on your roofs twice a year, do any maintenance work that needs to be done, light maintenance like clearing out drains, refastening, flashing, anything that could lead to a loss. They'll take photos, they'll document the condition of the roof, and give you a recommendation for when they think it'll need to be replaced so you can budget for that. Again, we want to try, I think we all know convective storm and roof losses are really a big driver of property costs right now in Kansas. And so our goal is to help the members facilitate, knowing what risks they have and putting a maintenance program in place to try to minimize the losses. We're not just here to sell a commodity to you. We really want to help you try to better manage the risk. And that's, I think, an example of that. We have a sample employee handbook that's designed, again, for Kansas counties. It's updated every 2 years. So if you're updating your handbook, that can be a resource. We have a relationship with Mineral. It used to be called Think HR. Gives your supervisors access to an HR consultant 8 to 5 every day. So if they're needing answers on even just wage and things that may not be covered right under liability policy, but just wage and hour questions, or any kind of anti-discrimination, harassment type question. They also have online courses. And then we have our own online university, which gives your staff access to hundreds of online courses. So you're getting online courses through our online university, through Mineral, through LLRMI, and then we have in-person, on-site training that we'll do. We'll bring in an attorney to do anti-discrimination, anti-harassment training at your request. We do in-person defensive driving training. And then finally, we have several different incentive awards. So every year you get $2,000 back in the form of what we call a risk avoidance grant. So if you spend money on like slip-resistant coating for stairs or grill guards for vehicles, backup cameras for your heavy equipment, security cameras, you can use that money for that purpose. And that's every year. And then we have we call risk management achievement awards, and those are really, we always say we're sort of paying twice. We use the contributions to buy these services and provide them to our members, but then those that are using them, we provide a credit back every year. So there's about 10 members, 9 to 11 members that participate in that every year. The entire membership could participate, so it's just a matter of applying for it and demonstrating that you're implementing these programs, and you can get a percentage of your contribution back. So that's, I think I've hit on most of the services. But I think those are just some of the benefits of being in the program, and we certainly would be open to bidding for you guys. I think you have a 7/1 renewal. And Gary and I were speaking about that, and, you know, we would, if you, I think you're in the process of selecting a broker, is that correct? Is that fair?
That's correct. I think the way this would work, Commissioner, since we've already initiated the broker selection, that process would continue. We would go ahead and identify a broker. He or she would give a proposal. At the same time, if you decide you want KCAMP to be involved, they would offer a proposal also, and then it would be up to the commission to decide what direction you want to go.
All right, questions from the commission to our presenter from K-Camp. Forgot your name, David.
David, that's okay. 2 first names. Either one's fine.
Well, David, it just goes on me, gray hair coming out or weird, or whether it's 11:10 and.
Full morning.
So the reinsurance companies that you select every year, does the board select those, or how do you put that out to bid, or?
That's a great question. We have had a very long-term relationship with the reinsurers that we use both on the property and the liability. It's the same reinsurer. It is a county, it is a, what I call a pool of pools. So it's called County Reinsurance Limited. It's designed for county pools like us. They're a captive domiciled in Vermont. And again, they're very like us in that this is all they do is county risk. They're lean staff, so their cost tends to be lower. We have representation on their committees, so we have input into the governance of that organization. And they're very well run, and it's just been a really good relationship. Now, above, that's the first layer. Above that, their broker then purchases reinsurance from Lloyd's in Bermuda, like everybody else.
That was, you know, when you said a lot of counties didn't join because of local brokers, I think that was the reason we had for years, and then that's changed.
Okay.
That and I think just the actual shock of what our insurance was costing.
Well, 27% and 30% the last 2 years.
And you know, and I said, well, let's raise the deductible. Well, we're at $250,000 deductible now on facilities.
That's, per location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, part of the reason Celine came in, right? They were being forced to go to I think it was a 3% per location or minimum $250 per location. And I have to be honest, when I first read it, I thought, oh, 3% per location, minimum $250 total. And it's 250 locations. So the discussion I had with that commission was, they said, well, maybe we should just self-insure. And I said, well, guess what? You're kind of self-insured now. I mean, if you had 5 buildings, right? 4 or 5 buildings, you're over $1 million that you're retaining. Are you funding for that? You know, they're really forcing you into self-insurance. And, you know, we have members that are as high as 250 or 100,000, but that's a per occurrence. There's a big difference, right? I mean,
I don't know if ours was per occurrence or per building.
If it's travelers, it's probably per building. Yeah. I'd be willing to bet.
They've had their way with us, so to speak, in my opinion. And, so I think the plan is that we'll follow the administrator's advice and take yours into consideration when we decide which way we're going, and also include a proposal from you.
That sounds good.
Anybody that's driven 4 hours and 5 minutes driving time, 305 miles from city limit to city limit, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about me? Because I don't want you to think that this was not really important to us, because it is. I want you to know that I'm really tired of paying insurance to major companies that are paying billions of dollars in claims on coasts. That, you know, God can be pretty fierce here on the plains. We can have an isolated event, but it's not a hurricane. And if there's a way that we can save Finney County taxpayers some money on this, I've watched our insurance premiums go on my 3 years, from 400 and some thousand to $700,000. And keep in mind that we're got a deductible that we're essentially paying for all risk. I'm serious. I mean, it takes quite a storm to do that kind of damage to one of these really well-built buildings.
Yes.
And so, first of all, we're paying an incredible premium, and secondly, we're pretty much self-insuring the way it is. So your concept is well received, and I'll quit jabbering. Does anybody, other commissioners, have any other questions for?
I have a question. Regarding the cyber protection, how comprehensive is that?
So it's pretty standard in terms of the coverage provisions that show up in a cyber form. We have $1 million of coverage is the limit with a million ag in a year. I think to me, the best part of the cyber coverage is our responsiveness on the claim. We've had, cyber is just one of those areas where, we offered the coverage way back in 2011. And when I would go around the state when I came in 14, very few had it. Very few public entities had it. So, it's relatively a newer coverage. And honestly, we had very few claims. We'd had maybe one every couple of years. And now we're seeing 3 to 4 a year. The claims were also maybe $15,000, $25,000. Now they're 6 figures almost consistently. The most important thing, I think, to your coverage is having a breach coach available very quickly. I'm sure you have very good IT, but they will get on the phone with them and whoever, whatever other stakeholders you want on that call, Gary or whoever, and make sure we're mitigating and limiting the extent of that breach. We then provide, I think the biggest coverage you need to be concerned with is, and the problem with cyber coverage is that different carriers call it different things, but it's essentially privacy notification. So if they've breached confidential information, even if they haven't used it, under state law, under Kansas law, you're negligent for allowing that breach. You have to notify all the affected parties. They could be in states all over the country. Each state has its own privacy notification requirements. So we will meet those. We will get the notifications out. We offer credit monitoring at that point. We pay for that credit monitoring under the form for those that request it. And then you have the liability limit available if anybody does sue because their identity was stolen or whatever. So I think when I'm looking at cyber, that's what I'm focused on, is that data breach, privacy notification, and credit monitoring.
Very good, thank you.
Is that helpful? Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. And we love driving out, so anytime. It beats being in the office, as you can imagine. So.
All right, well, I suggest that you not wait around for a March snowstorm. If it occurs, it'll come with wrath.
That's right. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Anything else, Gary?
I don't believe so on this particular one. When we get to an upcoming meeting, I do want to talk to you about the groundbreaking.
Okay.
Okay.
So for now, we're at the end of our agenda. Commissioners' reports is all that I have left. Go left to right.
The only board meeting I attended was the Great Plains Development, Inc., and nothing like being thrown into the pack of wolves. They did the annual audit at the time. So I got a lot to learn, but it was a good meeting. One of the things, Mr. Chair, was the Director, Robert Wetmore, had asked, and I think I forwarded it to you, request that I stay serving in lieu of Dwayne, and there was a request that Dwayne stays on the board in lieu of Lana. Lana has agreed to step down to let Dwayne sit in, so I don't know.
We'll take that up on a business agenda item when you come back. Well, you're gone the 17th, so we'll put it on the 3rd.
Okay.
If you would, make a note of that, please. All right, are you done, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Madam Vice Chairman?
Yes, on the 20th, I attended the Planning Commission meeting, the 24th, the Library Board meeting, and the library is having its struggles, you know, with the heat issue. As I understand it, they had heat now. Hopefully, they still have heat, but the staff was getting pretty stressed by what was going on, and in retrospect, they thought that maybe perhaps they should have just closed rather than trying to sort of stay open, and kind of open themselves up to some challenges. So, but they're going forward with some amended hours to, you know, keep staff there during the time, especially now that the weather has been warmer, so that was good. The 26th, I attended the Economic Development Board meeting. Always exciting things going on there. That's all I have to report.
Commissioner?
The Finney County Committee on Aging canceled their meeting due to weather that day. I was in Topeka during Robert's retirement meeting. That's why I didn't get to attend that, but had dinner with our senator and several representatives, Adam Smith, chair of the tax committee, and Jim Minix, chair of the water committee. And so his information that I received that was interesting, especially on taxes and appraisals and where that system's going this year. And it will be interesting to see what happens. And then on our sales tax issue, there's a bill I noticed in here that's about a preset agreement between the cities and counties on countywide sales tax. And so, you know, I don't know if you have an existing agreement, if it overrides that or how that's going to play out. But it sounds like it's not going to probably be heard this year in the House, but it's something to keep on the radar. Other than that, pretty quiet.
My report is that tomorrow morning at 9:30, the Senate Tax Committee will hear House Bill 2275, which is the Finney County amendment to existing statute authorizing a dedicated half-cent sales tax. The bill passed the House on a 118-4 vote. Congratulations to Representative Finney, Representative Lewis for running that through the House. Senator Clifford is now in charge of that bill over in front of Senator Karen Tyson, who chairs the the Senate Tax Committee, and I'll be appearing by Zoom tomorrow. Both KAC and others have submitted testimony in support of the bill. I expect it to pass out of committee perhaps tomorrow, but in due order, in order to pass the Senate. It was believed originally that it would be put on the consent agenda. We'll just wait and see how it fares in that tax committee. I have been promised that net revenue neutral comments won't come up at that time. We'll see. Obviously, attended Compass board meeting last week. Wonderful things happening at Compass. It'll be remodeling its new administrative building on Fulton. Big project for the county, improvement on Fulton. And also attended the Finney County Health Coalition, not Health Coalition, excuse me, Live Well of the Finney County Health Coalition, and Callie Dyer's presentation, which included folks from Common Spirit and other stakeholders here in Finney County. With regard to the stakeholder survey, you can go to the Live Well site, and I have the, whatever you call it, the box with all the funny numbers in it that any of us as members, as stakeholders, including county health, want to complete the survey. to assist the hospital in submitting its annual report to the state and to the feds as to the status of healthcare and healthcare needs here in Finney County. The stakeholders are invited to complete that survey. It needs to be done timely. Interesting conversation with Common Spirits director out of the Front Range, and it was well attended by Holcomb Police Department, school district, college, city. Matt Allen was there, myself, and area mental health, as well as representatives from Livewell. A great meeting to identify some of our strengths and weaknesses in delivery of healthcare systems in the community. And I'm going to circle back to my report on Compass. We have there are over 300 employees. That's up 105 employees from just last year. The CCBHC designation is really important to Compass and its ability to deliver services to Southwest Kansas. More and more, it is equally important for us to have a good relationship with Compass for the services that they provide to the county employees here as well as to our inmates. And Compass looks forward to working with the county in providing access for crisis bed services in the new jail, which is another part of the design issue with the architects out of Kansas City with regard to the new jail. So it looks like we're going to have a hearing tomorrow on our bill in the Senate, hoping for passage and quick out to the governor. And at that point, with the meeting that we had with the city last session, our joint meeting went really well, I thought. And I thought it was a good thing to do, and we need to do it again as time allows. And it worked out really nicely that we could have session in the morning, adjourn, and go and meet with the city commissions for both the City of Holcomb and City of Garden City. And when and if and should the governor sign our bill or allows it to become law on the dedicated half-cent sales tax, then we'll need to convene a committee to educate the public, as that issue will then go to the voters in the November general election. We have a lot of work to do to demonstrate to the voters the need for the cost of the dedicated sales tax and the use of the funds. And as I told the folks during the joint meeting, on a voter-driven dedicated sales tax or tax proposal of those that I have served on those committees, I've never lost, and I don't intend to lose now. So I will need everyone in this room's help to push the education and to push the vote past the finish line so that we can get to work on building a new jail and refurbishing and repurposing the law enforcement center as a joint facility to house both the sheriff and the police department in Finney County, which has worked very, very well for a large number of years. And I want to continue to have our law enforcement officers in the same building, and we need to get to work on it. I don't have anything else other than a motion to adjourn, and we'll go into work session, and I won't go there yet. County Administrator, sir?
Yes, sir. I have been in contact with Hutton Construction, and they, the 24th, March 24th, would work for a groundbreaking, but they just need to know what time you would like to do this.
Well, let's see, March 24th.
Monday.
Yes, somebody.
It's a Monday.
I don't know, would 11 o'clock work for them? That would give
I think they're open. I think they just want to know what time would work best for you all.
Get their mornings going.
Right. They may have started work on the project for the purpose of groundbreaking. It's ceremonial, and I don't want to hold them up, Gary, so if they want to get going on it, we'll do groundbreaking ceremonially. I don't want want them to wait on us to do.
I don't think they are. I mean, the original indication was they weren't going to start until the 25th.
All right.
So,
Commissioners, does the 24th work? I'd like to have as many of us as possible. And that gives Gary a chance to get back from your time away, planned time away, I might add. And so 24th, 11 o'clock would be really good.
11 a.m. Okay, I will let them know. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, yes.
I did mention that the chamber breakfast is next week, and it's actually on the 19th. Micah sent me a text and corrected
Okay.
Corrected my schedule.
The 12th also. So it's the 19th?
I confirmed.
On their website, it said the 12th,
It does, and she corrected me.
but it is the 19th.
Yes, it is the 19th.
Thank you.
So, yeah, just.
All right. Well, Vice Chairman Gurman will be taking our interim administrator for introduction to the chamber as well. Do we have any other business before the commission? Motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.